NASA spent over $1 billion to visit a dead planet's heart. But right before the spacecraft launched, scientists realized the entire theory might be completely wrong. Right now, that spacecraft is still falling through the solar system, 2 years into its journey. It's already past Mars, drifting toward a single object between Mars and Jupiter. That asteroid's name is 16 Psyche. Is it really the exposed heart of a dead planet? Or is that whole idea about to collapse? Every time researchers look closer, with better instruments, the picture gets stranger. Not clearer, stranger. This is a theory about to face its toughest test yet, and a spacecraft already on its way to run it. For over a century, the theory seemed solid. The evidence was clean. The mathematics worked. Then new data came in. Not from the spacecraft, still crossing the dark, but from ground-based observations. And suddenly, nothing added up. To understand what's changed, you first need to know what scientists thought they'd found. That story starts 4.5 billion years ago. The early solar system was a demolition derby of colliding rock, boulders the size of cities smashing together hard enough to melt entire worlds from the inside out. As they cooled, gravity took over. Heavy metal sank toward the center. Lighter rock floated to the surface like sediment settling in a lake. Except the sediment was molten metal, and the lake was an entire planet. Your Earth still looks exactly like this. Beneath nearly 3,000 kilometers of solid rock, below every mountain, every ocean, every city ever built, lies a gigantic ocean of molten metal, wrapped around an even denser inner core. No human has ever seen it. No drill could ever reach it. The deepest hole humanity has ever drilled barely scratched the surface. It's like trying to understand the inside of an apple by scratching its skin with a needle. But here's where it gets interesting. What if one of those early worlds never got the chance to grow up? What if a series of catastrophic collisions tore it apart? Impacts violent enough to vaporize continents, stripping away the rock, the oceans, the mantle, the crust, leaving only the core behind. Naked, exposed, floating alone in the dark. That became the Psyche theory. You're not looking at a random rock at all. You're looking at the naked heart of a murdered planet, drifting freely between Mars and Jupiter, waiting for someone to come and look. For decades, the idea seemed almost too extraordinary to be true. Scientists believed they'd found their smoking gun, because when they looked closer, Psyche started behaving like a crime scene with 2 witnesses who refused to agree. Clue number 1. Light. Every material reflects sunlight differently, almost like a fingerprint. Gold reflects differently than granite, granite differently than ice. When astronomers pointed their instruments at Psyche and studied the light bouncing back, the fingerprint was unmistakable. It read as metal. Strikingly so. Clue number 2. Radar. Scientists fired radio waves at Psyche and listened for the echo, the same trick as shouting into a dark cave to map walls you cannot see. Psyche's echo came back strong in a way that matched only one kind of surface, something rich in iron and nickel. 2 independent measurements, both pointing to the same answer. Psyche looked like exposed metal. Case closed, right? Not quite. Because Psyche looks like metal, but it doesn't weigh like metal. Imagine you pick up 2 identical briefcases, same size, same shape, same color. One feels almost empty, the other is impossibly heavy. You don't need to open either one to know whatever is inside cannot be the same thing. Scientists ran exactly that test on Psyche, not with their hands, but with gravity. By watching how nearby asteroids drifted in Psyche's presence, they calculated its mass, then compared that mass to its size. and the numbers refused to cooperate. If Psyche were a solid ball of iron and nickel, it should be far denser than it actually is. Instead, the density came back astonishingly low. Like a building that looks like solid concrete, but turns out to be mostly empty corridors and air. There's a third puzzle too. Psyche's surface looks strangely smooth for something that has been battered by collisions for over 4 billion years. Imagine striking a block of warm wax with a hammer. At first, the dent is obvious, but leave it in the sun long enough, and the surface begins healing itself. Could a metal world do something similar, bending instead of shattering, slowly erasing its own scars? Nobody knows, and that's exactly why NASA had to go there. So what is it? Right now, there are 3 leading answers, and each one is harder to believe than the last. Maybe it's a rubble pile, loosely packed metal debris, riddled with voids, held together only by its own weak gravity. Less a world, more a floating heap of cosmic gravel. Maybe it's a volcanic iron world. Picture eruptions of molten metal instead of lava. Glowing rivers of liquid iron and nickel bursting onto the surface. Freezing solid in the vacuum of space. Layer by layer, for millions of years. Or maybe it's something no one has imagined yet. No radar dish, no computer model. There was only one experiment left to run, and it meant going there. In October 2023, the Psyche spacecraft lifted off from Florida on a pillar of fire. Reaching an asteroid deep in the belt is nothing like aiming a rocket at a fixed target. Psyche is moving, the spacecraft is moving. The sun is bending both their paths at every instant. Miss the trajectory by the smallest fraction and you sail past millions of kilometers from where you meant to be. So NASA charted a years-long curving path through the solar system, aimed not at where Psyche is, but at where it will be. In 2026, the spacecraft swept past Mars, not to study it, but to steal a tiny fraction of its momentum. This maneuver is called a gravity assist. Imagine throwing a tennis ball toward a moving train. If it bounces off at exactly the right angle, it leaves carrying some of the train's energy without burning a single drop of fuel. NASA does the same thing with planets, except instead of a tennis ball, it's a spacecraft. And instead of a train, it's an entire planet moving around the sun at nearly 87,000 kilometers an hour. Mars bent the spacecraft's path and flung it deeper into the solar system. No extra fuel required. After that, the long fall towards Psyche. Arrival 2029. But away from the spacecraft entirely, something else had already happened. Scientists had pointed a completely different instrument at Psyche, one that had nothing to do with this mission, and what it found shocked the entire team. We'll get to that. First, here's what Psyche's own instruments are built to find. Every instrument on board has a single purpose: to ask Psyche a question it cannot dodge. The cameras will map every crater, every ancient fracture, every scar, a diary of everything that ever struck it. The spectrometers will read the chemical fingerprints frozen into the surface. Are they staring at the guts of a dead planet, or something else entirely? The gravity instrument will map how mass is spread beneath the crust, solid all the way down, and its gravity will be smooth. Honeycombed with hollow space, and that gravity will come back lumpy and uneven. And then there's the magnetometer, the one that could end the whole debate in a single stroke. If Psyche was once the molten core of a living planet, then as that core froze, it trapped something. A ghost of its own magnetic field, locked inside the metal, like a footprint pressed into wet concrete 4 billion years ago. Long since hardened, still perfectly preserved. Find that magnetic fossil and the core theory lives. Find nothing, and the investigation starts over. Most space missions point their instruments at what they expect to find. This one points its instruments at a 100-year-old idea, ready to shatter it or finally confirm it. Remember that other instrument? The one that found something no one expected? It was the James Webb Space Telescope, the most powerful telescope ever built. Before the spacecraft even launched, Webb pointed straight at Psyche. And what it found shocked scientists. Not solid metal, traces of rust, a faint chemical whisper of water locked into a surface that was supposed to be pure iron. Here's why that's such a problem. When a planet's core forms, the heat is fierce enough to melt metal outright, and water can't survive it. It floats upward with the rock into the crust, while bare metal sinks to the center. A true exposed metal core should be bone dry. Finding water-bearing minerals on Psyche means the surface was never simply metal. The theory was already starting to collapse before the spacecraft had even left our solar neighborhood. So the big question has a first answer now. Probably not a pure metal heart, but what's actually underneath? A rubble pile, a frozen sea of iron, or something nobody has imagined yet? That answer is still falling through the dark, arriving in 2029. 220 kilometers of rock and metal. A question the size of the universe. The answer is on its way, and we may not like it.